we briefly touched on dreams.
Yes, we did briefly touch on dreams.
And I gave Kate a little hot tidbit that I had a dream the other night that I was the director of the Hurricane Blonde movie.
Oh my God!
Yes.
And it was the wildest experience because I remember like vividly in my dream like how it started off. And there was like a camera going over like Los Angeles and like the Hollywood sign. And then like you kind of like veer down into like traffic and you see like the tour bus.
Cool.
And you go in through the back window and there's like Selma standing in the middle and like talking. And I remember like after that part, like you kind of are like sitting at an angle where you're looking up at her and like she's kind of like obviously like a little bored, but like putting on the show of like, and this actress is like, you know, like where like she was murdered. And then when you get to her sister, like her face gets really tight and she kind of like fumbles on her words a little bit. And that's all I remember.
Oh my God. I love this directorial vision.
Such a wild dream.
Honestly, I'm hoping that you are a witch and manifesting this for me. And if you want to direct it, I'm game, you know?
Okay, it will be my directorial debut, but I would be
perfect.
So pumped to do it.
Perfect.
I'm just gonna take over the reins of like everything, except for funding, because I'm not there yet.
We'll leave that to the professionals.
I still need some money, but yeah, I will take over.
Like casting, such minor details, directing. You know?
Perfect. Wardrobe, sure, I got you.
Yes. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Well, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it really would.
So
especially since we all are clearly obsessed with Hollywood thrillers.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You did this to me. I was going to say, you, both of you. I read The Hurricane Blonde and I was like, why can't I find more things like this? And then like shortly after or like around the same time, Kate was like, I am loving like the Hollywood like plot device and like not just thrillers but like any book. And like since then it's been like The Hollywood Assistant by May Cobb I fell in love with. The Final Act by Lisa Gray I just read.
My radar, but I haven't read it yet.
It is one of the darkest things I've ever read.
Ooh.
He has me wanting to read it so badly.
Dual timeline, just like touches on like toxic true crime culture within like TikTok.
Love it.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Oh, that sounds so good.
You'll die over it. It's so good.
Yay.
I know.
I actually left a bar. I was like out one night having like a great time and like left the bar early to go home and finish it.
Gare, you are a reader after my own heart. I have done that at like bachelorette parties where I've been like, I'm done now. I'm going home to read. I will see you in the morning. Like,
yeah, so I had 3 vodka sodas in like 45 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, guys, it was so great seeing you. But like, I'm going to go home and get a good night's rest. Then I like cranked up my like heating pad and like put on like fuzzy socks. And I was like, this is where I belong.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so good.
Well, Halley had kind of an icebreaker type idea.
I did. I also wanted to say, I know Kate knows this, but I don't know if she shared it with you, and I don't think I shared with you. But like, speaking of Hollywood stuff, I had a crazy Hollywood moment last week, which was that I got to go to the premiere of the Nicole Kidman film Baby Girl. And I saw Nicole Kidman on the red carpet. I was not cool about it. I just kept screaming, oh my God, it's Nicole Kidman! Like, it was like, no chill. And the film was amazing.
I can't wait to see it.
I can't either.
It's sexy.
I got me even more excited about it.
It's graphic. It's like, and it's so well done. It's so female gaze and like so kind of like inside a woman's like subjectivity in a way that I feel like you don't see. And it's like legit kinky for a mainstream movie starring Nicole Kidman. It's great.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
I need it now.
Yeah.
I also love that she's like stuck with that because I remember like To Die For was like very like kinky and also like something that I was like, I'm surprised like she did like she went from like Far and Away to like To Die For, and I was like, what a range.
Gare, I love that you brought that movie up. I love that movie. It is so like, I think last time when we talked about like candy coated horror, and like that was like a thing. I feel like in that movie where everything is like so aggressively pastel, even as it's like so dark. Oh, I loved that film.
There's there's a character, I think she's like Joaquin Phoenix's friend or girlfriend out of the 3 kids.
Yes.
I don't know her name, but she's in an incredible movie. If you have not watched it, it's called Before and After, with Meryl Streep, Edward Furlong, and Liam Neeson.
Okay.
Wow.
And she is the girlfriend of Edward Furlong, and he's accused of killing her.
Oh,
and it's like small town turning against him. Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson are the parents, and like just like what happens when like you don't have all of the facts, but like everybody thinks that he's like guilty of it, and like how little things can like kind of like crack the veneer of somebody's like reputation leading up to something like that. It is incredible. It is incredible.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I am gonna watch that. That sounds like so up my alley.
It's so good. You will not regret it. And Meryl. Brunette Meryl, like stringy brunette hair, like I'm a simple like housewife making apple pie, like kill me now. Fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so I derailed myself because I had to scream. I'm like telling everyone. I'm like, I went to a film premiere. I was severely underdressed and I saw Nicole Kidman. But like one thing I talked about with mentioned to Kate that I thought might be fun to cover in our conversation today would be like any bookish or writing resolutions we have coming up for 2025. And you just mentioned, Gare, that you are writing something. I don't know how much you want to share, but I'm excited to hear whatever you want to share. Truly.
I'll share it all.
Okay.
So was this your first movie premiere?
My very first, yes. I have been at... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. My first and only one was Luckiest Girl Alive.
Oh my God, amazing. How was that?
I wanted to die the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, it's like probably like one of my top 5 favorite books, and like I'm obsessed with Jessica Knoll.
How cool.
And I think like Mila Kunis is like such a great actress, and like seeing all of them like on stage like 20 feet away from me, I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. How cool you got to go. I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool. I was just like, oh my God, like this is the movie premiere that like I should like go to, you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like the only like, you know, till the Hurricane Blonde. But then you'll be walking the red carpet as the director, so you know. Could you imagine?
Oh my God, it'd be amazing. As my date. Yes, perfect.
Jacob Elordi has to be my date. I don't care.
And I'll be there with Josh O'Connor and Tom Hardy on the other side, just like
living the
brother husbands.
With it, yes.
Yes. It's like that TikTok
I love
audio that's like, I want a boyfriend, and I want my boyfriend to have a boyfriend, and I want my boyfriends to be boyfriends.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that.
So. Do you want to talk about your writing goals?
Sure, I'll start.
Or did Gare already talk about his? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
we did like a little like movie premiere like experience share.
Oh, okay.
While you were gone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my writing goals for 2025 are to finish my draft of book 3, which is slow going. Partially because I'm trying to I want to finish something so that I can really, I feel like I feel like I don't know what the book is until I finish a draft, and I can really like read it like as a reader and be like, oh, here's what's missing. Here's where I think I'm actually like going with it. So I want to get to that place. I want to try to write a short story a month because I think that's good practice to finish things and polish them. And then my last one is something I have been thinking about doing for a really long time. It's a practice out of this book called Making a Literary Life by Carolyn C. And it is, I want to write a note of appreciation to an author every month. And you kind of get to do this when you're writing, asking for blurbs, but you're asking for something. I just want to do it to like tell the writers like that whose work I appreciate, what I appreciate about it. And I think it's, you know, just a good thing to get in the habit of is like sharing what we like about other people's work and like really thinking about why we like it too. And so the first one I'm going to do is I want to write a note to Carmen Maria Machado, who is a fabulous writer. She just had a short story come out that you can read for free on LitHub called Endlings. That's like part of a linked short story collection she's working on. And it's a kind of a interesting, she takes the figures of the Warrens, you know, like the Conjuring, the Warrens, like the ones who did all the exorcisms, and kind of fictionalizes it. And it's just this really interesting, strange story about like grief and daddy issues and ghosts. And like, it was so, I read it and just like loved it. And so highly recommend everyone go read that short story, but I'm also going to be writing her a love letter about it soon. So those are my goals for 2025.
Those are great goals.
I am obsessed. It's like not even like just like your goals that are gonna like benefit you, but like also things that like other people need to hear too.
Yeah, I don't think anybody hates getting a note saying this is what I like really loved about your work, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good practice to get into.
It was actually reminding me, we watched the Directors on Directors with Luca Guadagnino and Denis Villeneuve. I am an American who struggles with other names. But Denis started it off. Like the first thing he said to Luca, he was like, I actually think I have to thank you because when I saw Timothée, as they call him, when I saw Timothée in Call Me By Your Name, he was like his performance. And then he starts talking, he was like the intelligence in his eyes, even though he is a youth. Like it sold him on. He was like, this could be my Paul Atreides. So he like started it off by like thanking Luca and being like, you helped change the trajectory of Dune. And I was like, what a compliment.
Seriously, that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah. It was good.
Oh, little Timothée.
Oh, Timothée. He's just doing everything.
Yeah.
And Luca, like,
I know.
Please, for the love of God, keep that Mickens career going.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We finally just got Queer in theaters near us because it had been out, but only in LA and New York. It finally just hit theaters here this week. So we're going to try to go see it, but we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to see it so bad.
Me too.
And he's adapting like the new American Psycho.
Yes, that's right.
With Austin Butler.
And The Shards.
Yes.
It's going to
Yes.
be
He's doing The
so
Shards
good.
for HBO.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's busy.
Yeah.
Booked in busy.
And if you haven't seen it, I know I've already mentioned this to Kate, but if you haven't seen it, an earlier of his movies called A Bigger Splash with Tilda Swinton and Ralph Fiennes and Dakota Johnson is like great. It's like a kind of a, I don't know if I would say remake, but like an homage to this old French film called La Piscine, which is basically about like 4 people having like erotic like switcheroos in this like house in the south of France plus murder. And so he transports it to Italy, and it's just got this like sun-baked, like all the goodness too of like Call Me By Your Name, where it just had this sort of like sun-baked feel, like just summer. Like that's A Bigger Splash as well.
I need to watch
You
that.
did tell me about
I love
this.
Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
It almost, I'm looking at the movie poster, it almost has White Lotus vibes too, even kind of from what you're saying.
For sure. It's like, yeah.
Not
Rich
exactly.
white people behaving badly.
Right.
Kind of though, a little bit. Yeah.
Kind of like
sure.
a destination thriller or whatever. Nice.
Is anyone else excited for White Lotus?
I'm so excited.
Yes.
So
I am so envious of whoever the casting director is for that show.
I know.
Give me like all of your tips. Like bringing Parker Posey into the White Lotus was probably one of the smartest things anyone did in 2024.
Totally. Genius.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I'm so excited. I wish they all aired it once.
I know.
Yeah.
Once you get used to streaming, it's really hard to deal with the sequential.
It really is.
Of each week, you know?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like you eventually are going to be like, when people like complain about it, you're like, well, in the old days, I had to wait every week, but I also had to watch commercials.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, commercials infuriate me. I don't know if we've talked about that. I would be surprised if I haven't ever gone on a rant about it. infuriate me. I do not watch anything with, I can't remember the last time I watched something with commercials. I'm like, you are breaking the flow of the story that I am absorbed in. And now it's this nasty, loud, bright, oversaturated shit just getting blasted at me. And I'm just like, fuck you.
Sing it, sister.
I can't do it.
I even hate like the streaming ones that are like 60-second commercials.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. My friend, like when we watch The Housewives together, like he has like the Peacock that like has the commercials and like they're like 30 to 60 seconds. It's not a big deal. And it's also like The Housewives. Like I'm not going to lose my train of thought. You know? But like even when they come on, I'm like,
I know.
God, should I like, do I like refresh my drink at this point? Do I like go outside and have a cigarette to like kill the time? I don't know. Like go outside and talk to one of your neighbors. Like I just like, it's like 60 seconds. Like give me a break, Garrett.
Commercials forcing us out of our homes to talk to our neighbors. You know, who'd have thunk it?
Like,
smoke.
Yeah, just smoke.
Big nicotine is behind it all.
Right. Commercials, the #1 cause of lung cancer in America in 2024.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I pay that $3.99 to have commercial-free Peacock. Like, I will just pay the price.
You make a good point, Kate. Like, I don't mind it as much in shows where they've like TV shows because they've thought about where they're going to like put the break for the commercial, but it really does like interrupt the flow of a movie to just be like, and then we're like in a commercial and then you come back. Like, it's not optimal.
Yeah, it's not. It is not. It was my soapbox moment of the day. I may have more. We never know with me.
I love it.
And like Tubi. Like there's a movie that I'm obsessed with and you can only watch it on Tubi right now because like it did not do well. And it's like this really bleak, depressing, like dark,
of course,
tell me more,
harrowing story. And like all of a sudden it's like, do you use Clorox when you like wash your whites? And I'm like, fuck me. Come on. Are you joking?
What's the movie?
It's called The Dead Girl.
Oh.
And it has Brittany Murphy in it.
Oh. Josh
Brolin, Toni Collette, Rose Byrne, Mary Steenburgen, and Marcia Gay Harden.
Wow, what a cast.
And it is like the story about a woman being found murdered and how it affects different people's lives. Like it affects the woman that found her. This woman who thinks this murdered woman could be my sister who disappeared 20 years ago. A mother who's like, is this my daughter? And then like leading up to like what actually happened to her. The cast is incredible. Like the performances are amazing. It's kind of like a really sad version of like Crash, but like about a dead body instead of like racism.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, like,
okay,
sob.
I gotta check
You'll
that
sob
out.
like 3 or 4 times. It's amazing.
Oh, it sounds great. I love how you're like, you'll sob. It's amazing.
It's great.
It's amazing. It is like one of those things where you're like, oh, if I'm having a rough day and you watch that, you're like, wow, like
my
perspective. Yeah.
Not too shabby now, are we?
That's also why I watch like Teen Mom and the TikTok wives.
Yes.
The Mormon TikTok wives. I'm like, it could be this, you know, it could be this.
Exactly.
That's why like when I'm like really going through it, I like watch like something like that or like Promising Young Woman.
Oh yeah.
Luckiest Girl Alive. I'm like, you know what, Garrett? You just gotta buck up a little bit. Just a little bit.
Amazing.
Well, I have goals too for 2025.
Okay, let's hear them.
Yes.
So ours are kind of similar, except mine is not book 3. Mine is book 1. But I am going to finish a draft in 2025. I also feel like, since I've never published a book, I don't know how many rounds of edits you really go through. But I want to finish the draft, and then however many edits I feel like I need before I take it to someone. I would like to get through those this year too. Like essentially have sent it to some people by the end of the year. And I'm kind of at a similar spot that you were saying, Halley, because I've really been like rereading everything I've written for the last 2 days. Because now it is like, okay, how can I now have these characters' lives intersect with each other now that I know everything that happened essentially. So I'm kind of to that same point where I'm like separating out everything I've written and like categorizing it, and then I can look at scene cards and move stuff around because I know I'm not going to tell it linearly either. So it's like I can feel the end of it in sight, but I need to get there. So I will definitely get there in 2025 is the goal with that. Reading wise, I think I'll probably do the same reading goal. I did 80 this year, and that was like doable while still doing other things as well. And then I'm going to sell my first bookish, or when authors have a book coming out, why can't I think of this? Oh, like the marketing package for a book coming out. So we are doing a practice run with someone in January that we haven't talked about yet publicly who it is. We're doing a practice run, and then we are going to be pitching this to other authors as a way to like spend like 6 hours doing content and then have a bunch of content for or leading up to your publication day. So those are my big
So cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Damn, homies.
Yeah, Gare,
well, this has been fun. This has been so fun.
You're like, have more sad movie recommendations.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Kate the Great, as somebody who has read some of what you have written, I am very happy and will do anything I can to help you with this goal of finishing it by 2025 because I'm dying for more.
Thank you.
Your voice is like so brilliant and you're extremely talented and I can't wait for this to be out in the world, especially on my shelf. So
oh my gosh, you're too nice.
Your first arc better go to me because I've been dying to know what's going on.
I mean, like maybe both of you joint at the same time, you know?
Yeah, I was like, I want to also read it, please.
And also when you sell all of these packages, I would like to pay for most of Halley's so that we can all go eat Taco Bell in the Hollywood Cemetery.
Oh my god!
Oh, obviously,
to celebrate.
Yes,
all subsidize it. Just come eat Taco Bell with me in a cemetery, and I'll be like, "There's Toto. There's so and so. We got it."
Yes, that would be so fun.
I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah,
me too.
Oh my god. Yeah, so you've got big things going.
That's the hope. That's the goal.
You both do.
Mm-hmm.
What's on your mind, Gare? What are you, I know you mentioned earlier you're writing. So what are you working on or do you want to share?
Yeah. I've had an idea in my head for, I think it's about 3 years. I've been like plotting and like thinking of little things. I write like little scenes here and there on my phone or my laptop. It is like a modern queer retelling of the War of the Roses, but it's like more toxic.
Whoa, yes.
So it's not like as much comedy, but like I definitely like that's been my favorite movie since I was like too young for it to be my favorite movie. And it's like one of my comfort watches. And I'm like, God, I just like love exploring toxic relationships. And like I think it's like very like I get TikToks where like people do like toxic things, like a woman broke up with her boyfriend and she was like, I took his thermostat. You know what I mean? Like things like that, like just like little things that like can turn into a big issue and like really like put big cracks in a relationship. And I wrote a prologue and I sent it out to like Ashley Winstead and Greg and Liz, and they had really like positive things to say about it. So my goal in 2025 is to at least like plot out everything by chapter and then like have like a very rough like first draft, maybe, you know, like they did this is this, and then like kind of like fill in the like fluff later, you know, where I'm like, okay, like this is what the house looks like, this is what, you know, happened. So that would be like my goal.
That's awesome.
We're two little first drafters.
Yeah.
And I actually think I mean, first of all, it sounds amazing. I too love the War of the Roses. I love that we have like an 80s, 90s sensibility, Gare, going on, like some of the things we've talked about.
I like nothing after it.
I think I just saw that they're reissuing the book that it was based on, maybe, or they're remaking the movie. It's one of those two, all of which is to say, like, this is a great time to be publishing like a spin on it because it's going to be like in the zeitgeist again. So like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Mine is definitely like not. I think the thing that's like very special about the War of the Roses is it's like it starts off as a love story and it's about like marriage and children and like, you know, when things like that fall apart. And like mine is more like about how like without knowing it, like 90% of the people play games when they start dating, you know, whether you're like, oh, I'm not going to tell them about like this little toxic trait. I'm not going to tell them about like, you know, how I do like X, Y, and Z, or something like small about like, maybe I don't wash my dishes every day, you know, things like that. And then how like lies like that can grow into like bigger lies that you feel comfortable hiding things from people that you're dating. And also like little lies and little things that you do to make yourself somebody who is dateable.
Yeah, like preserving the idealized self even when it gets to a point of like, I'm kind of lying about who I am.
Yeah, and then to fall in love, and then like when you see the real person for who they are, it's like, this is not who I envisioned myself dating, and now I'm already like too far in. And, you know, I think there's something very interesting with the aspect of like a breakup is usually like, how do you like get rid of someone that you don't want in your life anymore? And how do you hold on to somebody that you don't want to leave your life? And I think it'd be really interesting to combine those in two people.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Oh, I can't wait to read this. This sounds amazing.
I've been like taking notes and I'm like, damn, like maybe I'm really toxic because like I like have like an idea or something and then I'm like, oh my goodness, Karen, like no one's gonna like these characters. You know what I mean? Like,
but I think
no one's gonna like them, but
I think that's more interesting. I mean, that's also like War of the Roses, right? I don't remember finding either of them particularly likable, you know, but like
I thought Barbara was totally likable.
All right, fair.
I loved her. I was like, I understand completely why you wanted to drop a chandelier on Oliver. Like, he is the most like infuriating man I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, true. But like, I don't know. I'm excited. This sounds great.
I know.
Thanks.
Oh, we're just gonna have a great 2025, all of us.
Yeah.
And then reading wise, I'm just going to try to like read a little bit less so I can like do things like that. Like if I'm in the mood to write or if I'm in the mood to like research things or watch like The War of the Roses for the 100th time. Yes. Like I even have like a little like novella idea of like something I would like to do after the book.
Cool.
Which is like when the catalyst of, you know, the book kind of ends and what is left behind, like media wise, relationships and everything like that. So yeah, that would be fun to like plot out.
Yeah, I love that.
Get started on.
If there's any way I can like support you in that journey, let me know. Sometimes Kate and I do like writing sprints, so if you ever want to join in on those,
ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It helps.
I'm gonna get flashcards. That's my step number one is to get like flashcards and be like, all right, I'm writing out like every chapter and like what I want to happen in it, because like that's like something that like kind of makes me nervous is I know how it starts and I know how it ends, but like everything in the middle I'm kind of like, do I want this to happen first or do I want them to do this, or like, you know, so it's
have you read Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody?
I haven't.
Okay, so it's really helpful for like plotting and figuring out like how things should go, and it's based on like a popular screenwriting framework, but it really is like pretty universal. Like these are the universal story beats leading up to your traditional kind of like, you know, the traditional climactic thing of almost every story you read. Not every, but almost every story you read. And they do like a really great job. And I think it's really helpful too for pacing, because it'll tell you like, okay, by like 20% of your book, this should have happened. By 50% of your book, this should have happened. So it can be like really useful when you're trying to figure out like that soggy middle, which I think is sort of what you're talking about, where you're like, I've got the poles, but how do we get there and why and when?
Yep. I would agree with that, because it helps me a lot.
I'll have to get that. Yeah.
Where like I know like knowing what my midpoint needs to be helped me like write the stuff around it essentially. Yeah, it's very useful. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can adjust stuff. It doesn't have to be exactly, but it helps give you the like way to think about it.
Yeah, totally. And there's a million frameworks out there, you know, like whatever, if any of them speak to you, it's like, you know, I don't necessarily advocate for one over the other. That's just the one that connects with me the most.
Yeah. Same.
Dang.
Story Genius. That was the one. That's what Ashley Winstead uses for every book she writes.
Oh yeah.
Well, Ashley is herself a story genius, so that's also not fair, you know?
True.
Yes.
True.
Well,
that's also, I know. Wow, she's just, the way her mind works frightens me sometimes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Well, speaking of Ashley Winstead, she has a book coming out in 2025. And we were going to talk about a few books that we're all excited, that we're each excited for in 2025. And in case you couldn't guess, This Book Will Bury Me is one of mine.
One of mine too, honestly. It's so good.
Yeah. I have a lot.
It's definitely,
when I went to prepare for this, I was like, there aren't tons that have been announced. And then I was like, oh, there are tons that have been announced for 2025. So
totally.
I have lots in case we have crossover. But since the segue was just there, I am excited for This Book Will Bury Me. But for those who don't know what it's about, after the unexpected death of her father, college student Jane Sharp longs for a distraction from her grief. She becomes obsessed with true crime, befriending armchair detectives who teach her how to cunt. Oh my god.
New goal for 2025?
How to cunt killers?
You can't cut that out. You gotta keep that in.
Yeah, you have to keep that in
there. They teach her how to hunt killers from afar. In this morbid internet underground, Jane finds friendship, purpose, and even glory. So when news of the shocking deaths of 3 college girls in Delphine, Idaho takes the world by storm, and sleuths everywhere race to solve the crimes, Jane and her friends are determined to beat them. But the case turns out to be stranger than anyone expected. The details don't add up, the police are cagey, and there seems to be more media hype and internet theorizing than actual evidence. When Jane and her sleuths take a step closer, they find that every answer only begs more questions. Something's not adding up, and they begin to suspect their killer may be smarter and more prolific than any they've faced before. Placing themselves in the center of the story starts to feel more and more like walking into a trap. Told 1 year after the astounding events that concluded the case and left the world reeling, when Jane has finally decided to break her silence about what really happened, she tells the truth. She tells the true story of the Delphine massacres, and what she has to confess will shock even the most seasoned true crime fans. It sounds bleak too. It sounds dark and bleak, very, very Gare coded.
So I got to read this early because Ashley asked me for a blurb. I've read it. It is incredible. And every Ashley Winstead novel I read is my favorite Ashley Winstead novel. You know what I mean? Like I finished it and I was like, this is the best one. But like I loved it. It's so good. It's so smart. Ashley is just like a genius. She like has this ability to tell such a compelling story, but she's also adding in all these layers, like comments on like the kind of toxic nature of like true crime armed detectives. And like, it's also a meditation on grief. And it's just like so good.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm interviewing her at the end of February. So like I have been wanting to read it. I even have a physical arc, but I'm like trying to like tell myself like read it in February. Like the interviews are better when it's fresh, but I want to read it so badly.
It's good.
But also like we did a podcast recently where we were talking about like just read what you want when you want to. And I'm gonna have your back on this, Kate. Like when has an Ashley Winstead book like ever slipped your mind?
Right.
Like, that story, like you'll remember the details for weeks to come.
Yes, I agree.
I'm reading it on my Christmas break.
Oh,
I like picked out like 3 arcs that I'm like dying to read, and like I need to read them on my Christmas break and like cuddle my dog, and that's my goal.
Oh my gosh.
To end 2024.
Love that.
I think I'm going to be reading my remaining January books over Christmas break, because like we discovered a couple weeks ago, I not exaggerating, had like 11 NetGalley books in January, because it was it was just like once I think I had like 4 or 5 get approved in 1 week all of a sudden, and I was like, I didn't even remember, or I wasn't thinking about having them out there. So, which I have some that I'm still very excited about. I'm not complaining, but I will probably be reading my January books between Christmas and Baby Girl.
Yes.
I have 14 arcs for January.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I wonder, like, do you think it's because not as many come out in December, but like also like, does that really, I don't know. That was the only thing I could think of. There's so many that come out in January.
January is kind of like a prestige publishing spot. They often put like some heavy hitters in January. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
I feel like January, like people are like saving money because like they're like the holidays are already over with. They're using money for gift cards.
Oh yeah.
And it's also like, oh my god, it's January, like my holiday parties are over, like what do I do with my time when it's like kind of like a shitty winter?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
And I think also for people who aren't like the readers that like you guys are and like that your audience is, but like oftentimes people making New Year's resolutions, and one of them might be to read more.
You're right.
So like they're putting out books that are, you know, hitting that spot.
I know sometimes I think about that too. Like for the person who's like, I just read a really good book and I haven't read in forever. And you're like, oh, like when was the last one? They're like, I don't know, like a year or 2 ago. And I'm like, no judgment. It just like crosses my mind sometimes where I'm like, there's some people who aren't even like thinking about books that are getting released that year, or like, and there are people where it's like shocking to them when they get like hooked by a book. It's just such a different life.
It really is.
I took a huge break until Gone Girl came out.
Yeah.
And then Gillian Flynn, like I binged all 3 of her books back to back, and like that's what kind of brought me back into an avid reader. But like that probably would have been me. Like you probably could have asked me and I would have been like, I haven't read a book in like 12 months. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Or to be like the person that like I'm a little like jealous of, like somebody who like first experiences an author like Ashley Winstead, or the person who's like on my list that has a new book coming out and like getting to binge their entire backlist. Like lucky ducky.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you want to share that one with us?
Yeah, let's hear it.
My guess is that it's Lucinda Berry.
I would love if I had an arc of Lucinda Berry's, but it does not come out until May, and I'm not discussing it until April because I am like feverishly dreaming of the day that like an arc shows up in my mailbox, because like I am I just know that it's gonna fuck me up, and
it sounds so good.
It sounds so good, and the cover's beautiful, and I fucking love her. Like she called me her soulmate on Instagram, and like I want that on my tombstone.
Amazing.
Like my dark little heart where she's like, you're in for a wallop, and I'm like, that's why I picked it up.
Yes.
But my pick is Beautiful Ugly by my homegirl Alice Feeney. I am very excited for this one. I love Alice Feeney. I think that she just like always like reels me in every time. And I've never regretted picking up a book by her. So, author Grady Green is having the worst best day of his life. He calls his wife to share some exciting news as he's driving home, and he hears Abby slam on the brakes and get out of the car, then nothing. When he eventually finds her car by the cliff edge, the the headlights are on, the driver door is open, and her phone is still there, but his wife has disappeared. A year later, Grady is still overcome with grief and desperate to know what happened to Abby. He can't sleep and he can't write, so he travels to a tiny Scottish island to try to get his life back on track. Shortly after arriving, he sees the impossible, a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife.
Ooh.
I'm very intrigued by this one, and I love the tear in the cover.
Yeah, it looks
I
good.
do too. I freaked out when I got this because I thought my book was ripped.
Oh
no.
And I was like, are you joking? I finally get the Alice Feeney book and it's ripped. But no, yeah, I'm obsessed. It kind of gives me, I love when somebody's life falls apart because in fiction, when someone's life falls apart because someone goes missing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like everything starts to unravel. It gives me a little bit of The Vanishing vibes, which is one of my favorite movies in the entire world. 80s and 90s.
Yes.
I love it.
And it's very dark and bleak, so I'm expecting Alice Feeney to really sell me with this.
Yeah.
I want us all to do this again in a few months, and maybe we can like talk about how the hype lived up for these like most anticipated books, because I'm curious.
Ooh, that would be
hear
so fun.
Really? I think so too.
Yeah.
Dude, one little thing. Clearly, everyone wants that book because I even chose it for my book of the month. And it hasn't, they like sent me something and they're like, this shipment is delayed because of like the huge demand. So like they haven't even sent my December one yet. So everybody wanted that book apparently.
Wow. Good for her.
Good for Alice.
Damn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, my first book on my list is Cross My Heart by Megan Collins, which I also got to read early, and it's okay. So I said that thing about the Ashley Winstead. I legit think this is my favorite of Megan's books, and I love Megan's books, and like this one really blew me away. You can just like feel how much fun she had when she wrote it. So I'll read the description really quickly, which is Rosie Loughlin wants nothing more than to find the one. A year after she was dumped in her wedding dress, she's working at her parents' bridal salon, anxious for a happy ending that can't come soon enough. After receiving a life-saving heart transplant, Rosie knows her health is precious and precarious. She suspects her heart donor is Daphne Thorne, the wife of local celebrity author Morgan Thorne, who she begins messaging via an anonymous service called Donor Connect, ostensibly to learn more about Daphne. But Rosie has a secret. She's convinced that now that she has his wife's heart, she and Morgan are meant to be together. As she and Morgan correspond, the pretense of avoiding personal details soon disappears, even if Rosie is keeping some cards close to her chest. But as she digs deeper into Morgan's previous marriage, she discovers disturbing rumors about the man she's falling for. Could Morgan have had something to do with his late wife's death? And can Rosie's heart sustain another break, or is she next?
This one sounds so salacious.
I can't wait.
It's salacious, and she does some stuff with like the structure of the story that is just like chef's kiss masterful, like truly.
That is so cool. That's one of the ones. Yeah, it was like on my list too, because like I figured we would all have some overlap. But so I was glad that you said it too. But that's gonna be one of the ones I'll be reading between Christmas and New Year's. Oh, I know.
Yeah, look at that.
So
I know
pretty.
The hand, like
I know. I was like looking at it the other day, and I was like, actually, no one has ever typed like this with just their middle finger, but it looks so pretty.
Well, and it's like, this is so geeky, but I remember Megan, just so you guys know, I'm friends with Megan, so full disclosure, she did share the cover when it first got designed, and I remember like the hand has so much personality. There's something like sexy about the way it's kind of draping up to like tap the thing that you're right. It's like no one would ever write that way.
Yeah.
But the way, I don't know, it tells a story in that simple curve of the hand, you know?
It's very ominous. Like up close, it almost looks like it's more on the mouse pad or the trackpad.
Yeah. You're right.
So it's almost like I wrote something that you are going to regret and I'm about to hit send.
Yes. Totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like when I write something snarky and bitchy to somebody who like deserves it, that's what my hand looks like.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
Like, send.
And send.
Yeah.
Everyone that I see who reads it is obsessed with it. So
it's great.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm also excited that it's your favorite because I was telling Kate, like, I think a week, maybe 2 ago, that like I loved everything she's written, but like I still vividly remember my reading experience of The Winter Sister and like how it was just like one of my favorite reading experiences like of any book.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear how you feel like it compares. I love The Winter Sister too, which is just like so lush and like, I don't know, almost feels like this Greek tragedy sort of come to life.
Yeah.
And then this has a different feel, but like, yeah, it just felt so fun. Like I felt like I knew she had fun writing it. And like that is such a like lovely feeling as a reader to me.
Same.
I am so torn on which one to talk about next, because like literally I'm torn between like, oh, everyone's heard about this one, or like talking about ones that less people have heard of. But
I know
I'm just gonna talk about Lisa Jules that just like got announced, I think like last week, because the cover had me excited just with the cover. It's called Don't Let Him In, and it has like doors within doors within doors, like almost think of like Russian nesting dolls but doors, which like sounds like lots of timelines or something to pay attention to, which is like totally one of my new favorites, is books where you have lots to pay attention to. Sounds so silly. So I got really, I'm always going to read what Lisa Jewell writes, but I got excited just seeing this cover, and then I read what it's about. Restaurateur Patty Swan was the life of the party until the day a man pushed him in the path of an oncoming train, leaving his 20-something daughter Ash and wife Nina devastated. Shortly after Patty's funeral, the two women receive a surprise in the mail, a note and package from Nick Ratcliffe, an old friend of Patty's and a nondescript lighter that once belonged to him decades ago. The unexpected gift draws Nick and Nina closer together, much to Ash's dismay. Martha is a small-town florist with dreams of expansion. She lives with her second husband, Al, her baby, and 2 sons from her prior marriage, but they never seem to have any money, and with his constant traveling for work, she feels like a single parent, especially when an emergency makes her realize something needs to change. But Nick and Al may not be who they say they are, leading these 3 women on a shocking collision course, wishing they had heeded a warning, don't let him in.
Ooh.
It just sounds like all kinds of crazy Lisa Jewell stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it does. It also, if you don't have it yet and you need a good comp to kind of get you in the mood, The Widow by Fiona Barton is very, very, very good.
Nice.
You will scream at the last chapter.
Oh my gosh.
Like it has, I'm not going to say what it is because I want you guys to be surprised if you do read it, but it has something that you both love.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Like something that we're all very passionate about. So.
Just gonna leave that there.
I know. I just scribbled that down on my notebook. Like, okay, we got something else.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Her books are so good anyway, but that's the one that like the ending has stuck with me like the longest.
I love that.
I think I yelled like "fuck yeah" like at the end of it. I was like "fuck yeah!" It's so good.
That's awesome. Excellent.
Yeah,
okay, you've reeled me in.
Yeah, it's so good.
Is okay. I was going to ask if you were still with us.
God.
There's so many is the problem. Like there's so many I want to talk about, you know? Yeah.
That's what I ran into.
Yeah.
This could almost be like a quarterly thing because like I think all of mine are January.
Yeah. Maybe we should do it a quarterly thing because I am with you. Most of my other 2 are January or February. So
yeah.
Gare, what's your next one?
Okay. My next one is I'm going to pick Asia McKay, A Serial Killer's Guide to Marriage. It just seems a little like snarky and like creative to me. Well, obviously all books are creative, but it just seems like something that I haven't read yet. So you guys will love this. I wasn't smashing the patriarchy, I was killing it, literally.
Love it.
Hazel and Fox are an ordinary married couple with a baby, except for one small thing. They're murderers. Well, they used to be. They had it all, an enviable London lifestyle, 5-star travels, and plenty of bad men to rid from the world. Then Hazel got pregnant. Now they're just another mom and dad and baby. They gave up vigilante justice for life in the suburbs. Arrange playdates instead of body disposals, diapers over daggers, mommy conversations instead of the sweet seduction right before a kill. Hazel finds her new life terribly dull, and the more she forces herself to play her monotonous, predictable role, the more she begins to feel that murderous itch again. Meanwhile, Fox is really taken to being a father. Always the planner, he loves being 5 steps ahead of everyone and knows exactly what's coming around the bend. Plus, if anyone can understand Hazel needing one more kill, it's Fox. But then Hazel kills someone without telling Fox, and when the police show up at their door, Hazel realizes it will take everything she has to keep her family together.
Murder infidelity. I love it.
I cannot wait. And like having like a baby involved is like also just like chef's kiss, because like I think that there's going to be like a little bit of like a dark comedic undertone in this one. You know, like don't wake up the baby as we're like dragging a dead body across the, floor or something.
Totally. And I love it as a twist. I love it as a twist on the idea of like you have kids and like all of a sudden you say goodbye to your older self or like your partying self or whatever, except it's like your murdering self. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I do too. And I also like love how like, and if this book were written like even a few years ago, like people would have been like, oh, it was probably the husband and it's the one that like, couldn't control his murderous rage. So I actually like that it's the wife that's the one that was like, oh, well, I killed somebody behind your back. You can deal with that.
It's giving My Lovely Wife, but maybe campier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like maybe like a little bit of like You.
Totally.
Season 2 or 3, whatever, when it was like Love and Joe.
Yes, that's right.
And they had like the baby and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, that was good.
So it sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next one. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I do not always do a very good job of pre-ordering books. And I know it's a big thing we need to do to support authors, but like I have so many books. And so when I tell you I hit the pre-order smash button last night when I saw this book, like just like, give it to me. So this next one is called Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fito, I think is how you pronounce her last name. And it's coming out in February. It's already going to be a feature film starring Margaret Qualley and Thomasin McKenzie. And the cover is amazing. So here's the summary. Grimwald's England. Winfred Naughty arrives at Ensor House, prepared to play the perfect governess. She'll dutifully tutor her charges, Drusilla and Andrew, tell them bedtime stories, and only joke about eating children. But long, listless days spent within the estate's dreary confines come with an intimate knowledge of the perversions and pathetic preoccupations of the Pounds family. Mr. Pounds can't keep his eyes off Winifred's chest, and Mrs. Pounds takes a sickly pleasure in punishing Winifred for her husband's wandering gaze. Compounded with her disdain for the entitled Pounds children, Winifred finds herself struggling at every turn to stifle the violent compulsions of her past. French tutoring and needlework are one way to pass the time, as is admiring the ugly portraits in the gallery and creeping across the moonlit lawns. Patience. Winifred must have patience, for Christmas is coming, and she has very special gifts planned for the dear souls of Ensor House.
Oof.
Wow.
I know.
That cover is also fucking amazing.
No.
Well, and I have to ask, there are 3 covers on Goodreads, and all of them are so cool. Are you guys looking at the one with like the yellow text?
Yes, I'm looking at the like Victorian doll with the yellow text dripping down it. Yeah.
Yeah. The other ones are cool too. But then I also have to share, I almost laughed while you were reading it because the first review on Goodreads says, "Holy hell in a handbasket, what did I just read?"
Yes! That's what I want.
Yeah. This sounds very unique and fresh.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can't wait to read that. That sounds really good. I'm going to have to pre-order that too.
Yeah.
I'm going to smash that button as well.
Yeah. Just like, what's money? Give it to me. Put it in my hands.
Yes, totally. Oh my gosh.
I also love that it like kind of like gives you enough to be like interested, but like you're like, what is everybody really hiding here?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in.
Damn.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have time for one more round.
Yeah, we can do it. We can be quick.
We
got this.
So I was like, for whatever reason, was like, spread them out across 2025. So that Lisa Jewell one comes out in June, and this one comes out in August. But it is called High Season by Katie Bishop. So, never speak of that summer. On a beautiful summer's night 20 years ago, troubled 17-year-old Tamara Drayton was found floating face down in the pool of her family's idyllic mansion in the south of France, leaving her twin brother, Golden Boy Blake, to pick up the pieces of their shattered family. Also left behind was their sister Nina, who at 6 years old became the youngest person ever to testify in a French murder trial. Because she's the only one who saw what happened, who watched as her babysitter, Josie Jackson, pushed Tamara under the water and held her there until she stopped breathing. Didn't she? 20 years later, Nina's memories have faded, leaving her with no idea of what really transpired that night. When a new true crime documentary about her sister's murder is announced, Nina thinks this might be her chance to finally find out. But the truth always comes at a cost. Who will pay the price? Set over 2 unforgettable summers, 2 decades apart, High Season is a dark, tense exploration of the nature of memory, the enduring power of truth, and all the gray areas in between.
Love it.
Fuck me up.
And
That
the
cover is
really
fucking
cool.
amazing.
The cover's
oh my
great.
god, dude.
The cover's great.
Yeah, that like rainbow bleed.
Mm-hmm. And the like, it feels so south of France, sweltery, sexy. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna lie, when I was like face down in a pool, I was like, this is perfect for a Halley episode.
I know. I was like ticking all of my boxes.
Yes.
God, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very excited. It comes out in August, so it'll be a while before I read it probably. But I have it. I have it on NetGalley.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, girl, look at you.
I think I have an interview scheduled. I think someone sent me this one.
Oh, cool.
Can I be
I'm
a fly
pretty
on the
sure.
wall during the interview?
Yeah, right? Can we all come?
Yes.
I'll
totally.
just be muted and just like sit here and you can like read my facial expression.
Right?
Same. Gare will just be like,
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
That sounds so good.
I'm excited.
Oof. Speaking of amazing covers,
Ooh.
I guess. And this is something that I don't think that I would have really found on my own if the publisher didn't reach out to me. So thank you, Crown Publishing, for being
I love that.
A Gorgeous Excitement
Ooh.
by Cynthia Reiner. I'm obsessed with this cover.
yeah.
Ooh, it's so haunting.
I love that cover.
It gives me like very like mysterious vibes of like something ominous happening in the summer and totally scaring the shit out of me. But let me see here. Okay, so it was the summer of 1986 when the girl was found dead in Central Park behind the Metropolitan Museum, half naked, legs splayed, arms flung over her head, larynx crushed. There are 2 things Nina Jacobs is determined to do over the summer of 1986. Avoid her mother's depression-fueled rages and lose her virginity before she starts college in the fall. Both are seemingly impossible. When her mother isn't lying in bed for days, she's lashing out at Nina over any perceived slight. After a blowjob gone wrong, spectacularly wrong, Nina is the talk of Flanagan's, the Upper East Side bar where a young Manhattan society congregates. It doesn't help that she's Jewish, an outsider in a world of blue-eyed blondes who populate the rarefied world. She can fit in, kind of, with enough alcohol and prescription drugs stolen from her parents' medicine cabinet. Flanagan's is where she pines for the handsome, preppy, and charismatic Gardner Reed, whom every girl wants to sleep with and every guy wants to be. After she's introduced to cocaine, Nina plunges headlong into the pursuit of Gardner, oblivious to the warning signs. When a new medication seemingly frees her mother from darkness, and Nina and Gardner grow closer, it seems like Nina might finally get what she wants, but at what cost? Freud called cocaine a gorgeous excitement, but a gorgeous excitement for the wrong guy can be lethal.
Ooh.
I just feel like this one sounds like a fever dream.
Oh, yeah. Well, you had me at that cover, and I was like frantically scribbling down the title.
Yeah.
But then you really had me at a blowjob gone spectacularly wrong. And also, I never knew where that synopsis was going. There were like twists in that synopsis that I just was like, oh. So,
yes.
like, yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah. I'm like, without the first paragraph of like the murdered person in Central Park, I was like, I don't understand why they would reach out to me and see, like, I think that you would really enjoy this.
Yeah.
Because they're like, it is about a girl who is introduced to cocaine in the 80s after like a bad blowjob experience. And I was like, not to toot my own horn, but I've never had one of those. Thank you very much, Crown. But, then you had me at murdered person outside of the Metropolitan Museum. And I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
I also love the idea that somebody's like, hey kid, you had a bad blowjob tonight, here's a bump, Here's like,
yeah, right. Like, oh my God. I just can't imagine being like New York City and being like known as like the person who like had like a bad blowjob experience. And now I'm kind of like curious as to like what it is.
God,
right.
I hope braces aren't involved.
So many ways that can go wrong.
Yeah,
because like if you ask like a woman what's the bad like blowjob experience, like the guy is not going to say it's a bad blowjob experience because like men are stupid and easy. And like, I'm just like very curious as like, did she get caught? Did she like use teeth? Like, I just want to know what happened during this BJ that like made her spiral into being like, you know what, prescription drugs, booze, cocaine. There's a dead girl behind the museum, but I don't give a fuck because I had a bad blowjob experience and my life is falling apart completely.
Really give some perspective to all of our dating lives, like,
and then I'm like,
never been that
she seems
bad.
like a little bit of a drama queen, so maybe I can relate.
Oh my God,
I'm just thinking like cocaine seems to elevate experiences and make them more prevalent. So I'm also thinking like, I feel like I would want a downer more than an upper if I was trying to forget something, but we'll just see. I'm also so excited that someone put spectacularly wrong blowjob in a synopsis.
Oh yeah, like, that's some. I love the cover.
I am
that's
too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I am too, and I also like. I don't know. It's just like very. I don't know. It's gonna be like a very fun time travel, I guess, because like doing cocaine in the 80s in New York City doesn't really seem like it was like. That's like kind of like people having a cigarette now after they have like a couple of like martinis. So I just I'm very excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, thank you for putting that one on my radar.
The group text will be blowing up when I find out what happened during the blowjob.
Yes, please give me screenshots. Like, let's do it.
Yeah. I'm just very excited to see what happens here.
Amazing. Okay. So I have a million others I could mention, but I feel like some of the ones I've already talked about on this podcast and other places. The Favorites by Lane Fargo, Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. So I'm going to shout out Sarah Sliger's Vantage Point, which is a book I have been excited about for a long time. Sarah Sliger is an LA writer. She's great, very like Megan Abbott with this like beautiful literary crime novels and thrillers. Her book, Take Me Apart, I loved. Vantage Point is described as Succession meets Megan Abbott, which I'm like, yes, let's do it. So here's the description. The old money Wieland family has it all. Wealth, status, power. They're also famously cursed. Clara and her brother Teddy grew up on a small island in Maine in the shadow of their parents' tragic deaths, haunted by rumors and paparazzi. 14 years later, they've mostly put their turbulent past to rest. Teddy has married Clara's best friend Jess, and the three of them have moved back home to take over the sprawling remote family mansion known as Vantage Point. Then Teddy decides to run for the Senate, an unnerving prospect made much worse when intimate videos of Clara are leaked online. The most frightening part is that she doesn't remember filming any of them. Are the videos real or are they deepfakes? Is someone trying to take down the Wielands once and for all? Everyone thinks Clara is losing her grip on reality, but she knows the truth. The videos are only the beginning. Years ago, the curse destroyed her parents. Now it's coming for her.
I want to read this one so badly.
Yeah.
And they denied me on NetGalley. But I'm very excited for this one too.
Rude. So rude.
They were like, you have too many in January. No.
Damn it.
I want to read this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I saw that it was like one of those things too where, you know, NetGalley will send like first 500 people get access to it. I clicked it pretty early on, but maybe everyone wanted to read it.
Yeah. I mean,
but The Succession meets Megan Abbott had me.
And it's been getting great reviews. I think it's been getting a bunch of like starred, like rave critical reviews. Like, and Sarah's a great writer. So I'm really excited to read it.
Yeah. It has 155 ratings on Goodreads and 3.84. That's pretty high for not published yet, especially.
Yeah.
Jessica Knoll blurbed that.
Ooh, there you go. Even better.
I could get her blurb tattooed on my body, actually. She said it oozes atmosphere and tension. I was seduced by the fabulously wealthy and famously cursed Whelan family and could not stop turning the pages until I learned every last one of their dark dynastic secrets.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I need this.
We all gotta read it.
We do.
We all
really do.
I'm not gonna leave my house until August.
Same.
Like, fuck. Oh my god, that sounds so good. I love the cover.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
We all picked some pretty sick covers, I will say.
We did. We did.
Well,
oh my god.
Let us know if you guys are interested in any of them, or if you have some great 2025 ones that you want to share with us.
Or if you've already read some of the ones that we mentioned, slide into my DMs and tell me all. Especially if it's about the blowjob.